In 2 years, he claimed 87 lives and left countless scarred. This is a horror story in medicine. It all began in July 2004, when a 56-year-old earth-moving contractor, Des Bramish, was brought into the emergency room at Bundaberg Base Hospital in Queensland, Australia. He had suffered from a collapsed camper. The initial treatment made him a little better. However, no one knew his horrendous future and many others. Everything was under control, but suddenly, his condition took a turn for the worse. Fluid started building up around his heart. Dr. Jayant Patel, a 55-year-old surgeon, was on duty. He scheduled an emergency operation to drain the excess liquid. However, a routine operation was converted into a butchery practice. Patel kept stabbing Bramish with a needle around 50 times in an attempt to penetrate the chest's space. All the medical staff watched in horror as Dr. Patel converted the operation theater into a massacre field. Tony Hoffman, a nurse in the hospital, narrated, "The whole thing was like a nightmare, and Patel was really out of control." Dr. Patel failed, leading to Bramish's death the following day. Further investigations began, and some terrifying truths were revealed. Considered among the most prominent medical scandals in Australian medical history, this is the tale of one of the greatest manslaughters in history. This is the chilling tale of Dr. Death. Dr. Jayant Mukundre Patel was born on April 10, 1950 in Jamnagar, Gujarat, India. He belonged to a wealthy family in India. As a child, Patel always dreamed of becoming a doctor and worked really hard to become one. But no one knew this innocent little boy would become the Dr. Death. He started his journey from the M.P. Shah Medical College at Saurashtra University and secured a master's degree. Later on, he went to the United States for surgical training and enrolled at the University of Rochester School of Medicine as a surgical intern and a resident in surgery. He started as an assistant surgical resident at Erie County Medical Center, Buffalo, and was later granted the chief surgical resident. However, in 1984, medical authorities accused him of improperly examining his patients before surgery, resulting in a $5,000 fine for negligence, 3 years of probation, and 6 months of suspension from practicing. Despite all these allegations, the American Board of Surgery still granted him certification to practice as a surgeon in November 1988. Little did they know that they were giving a massacre certificate to a killer. Later, in 1989, he moved to the Kaiser Permanente Hospital in Portland, Oregon. However, his constant negligence raised complaints against him for botched operations, all filed by the victims or their families. Finally, the Oregon Board of Medical Examiners had no option but to investigate. As they dug deeply under the case, the nightmares began to unravel. Out of 79 patients, at least 3 died due to Patel's gross carelessness. A 65-year-old man died after pancreatic surgery. An 83-year-old woman became a victim of Dr. Patel's post-pancreatic and colon surgery, and a 67-year-old man couldn't bear the liver surgery. And even those who survived complained about getting emotionally and physically scarred for life. After a thorough investigation, in 2000, Patel's license was restricted statewide, and he was banned from doing surgeries in the state. It raised a wave of satisfaction among the victims. However, they didn't know that true horrors were about to unravel. After realizing he couldn't practice further in the US, Dr. Patel relocated to a new country. His next target was Queensland, Australia. He fabricated his past and claimed to be more qualified than he was. As a result, Dr. Patel was assigned a well-reputed role. In Australia, Dr. Patel began to show his true colors. He would intervene in cases he was not supposed to and tried to do unnecessary operations, that too with poor hygiene. That was one reason that MST of his patients would end up in severe infections. The horrors got to the point that his colleagues started hiding their patients from him. Yet people avoided going against him, as he was a cunning person who deceived people easily. The staff recalled how OTs became a bloodbath, and instead of healing them, he would leave the patients and warn the staff that this was not his mistake. The staff started calling him Doctor. Death Bramish's death was the last nail in the coffin, and Nurse Hoffman decided to put an end to it. Yet, her complaints went unnoticed. and she was accused of being racist. Yet she stood by her stance and didn't give up. She rang everyone she could think of: the Queensland Nurses Union, the coroner, the police, and her immediate superior to request an urgent meeting to stop Patel from practicing. Yet all went in vain, but she didn't lose hope. She started sending out letters. One of the letters was to Peter Leck, the district manager at the State Health Department, Queensland Health. She supported her claim with proper evidence and accused Dr. Patel of 14 possible malpractice cases. Her hard work paid off, and in February 2005, Queensland Health began an investigation into Patel. The following month, National Party member Rob Messenger also presented Patel's problem to the Queensland Parliament, hoping to drum up even more support to delve further into the matter. After investigations from higher authorities, the media also came into action and started reporting the case of Dr. Death. Patel had sensed the heat of the situation, and before further inquiries, he had already flown back to the US. Was Dr. Patel hanged for his actions? Did the victims receive justice? Before moving on to that, let's see some dreadful crimes he committed while serving as the director of surgery. Marilyn, a 44-year-old diabetic patient with kidney failure, arrived to seek treatment. Due to her severe conditions, she had developed gangrene in 2 of her toes. Dr. Patel advised on amputation, but little did she know the terrors she was about to face. After the surgery, the pain didn't end for Marilyn as she developed gangrene further in her left leg. Patel decided to amputate the limb just below her knee. But after the procedure, he simply abandoned her and didn't check her at all. According to the hospital's director of medicine and renal specialist, Dr. Peter Mayak, he left her in bed in the ward for days, just forgot about her. Even though she suffered trauma from the loss of her leg and also required constant management for her kidney failure. Luckily, she regained full consciousness, but this nightmare was yet to take complete control. 6 weeks later, it was disclosed that her stitches were not removed and got infected, leading to further amputation. The commission charged Patel with 1 count of murder and at least 2 counts of maiming. He was later accused of fraud and hiding his conviction in NY. Finally, after a lengthy investigation, on June 29, 2010, Jayant Patel was found guilty of all 4 charges and was sentenced to 7 years in jail for his offenses. With the help of Interpol, Patel was brought back to Australia. Patel appealed his conviction and sentence to the Court of Appeal, and the prosecution also appealed the sentence. Both appeals were dismissed. Later, he gathered a strong attorney and filed an appeal for a retrial. Due to the lack of evidence, it was granted, and later, he was not found guilty of the biggest manslaughter by a medical professional. However, his license was terminated due to fraud, and he was sentenced to 2 years in prison. After completing his conviction period, he was released and returned to the US. Regardless, he didn't seem guilty, stating, "It has been a long and challenging journey. I'm pleased it's over, and I'll return to my life and work." According to CBC News, out of 1,202 patients he treated in just 2 years, at least 87 died due to complications related to the surgeries. This case is one of the most appalling crimes in medical history, raising critical questions. How did such a dangerous individual slip through hospital hiring procedures? Why were victims unable to secure justice? And how was he permitted to continue practicing outside the US? These pressing concerns overshadow the medical profession, where trust and healing should be paramount. What do you think about this story? Let us know in the comments below. Before you go, like, share, and subscribe for more shocking stories. Thanks for watching.